The cafe smelled the same as it did 10 years ago: freshly brewed coffee, warm cinnamon rolls, and a hint of rain drifting in from the open windows. She sat at their usual table by the window, her fingers tracing the rim of her untouched latte. Outside, the city moved on, indifferent to her turmoil. People hurried past, umbrellas clashing, lovers holding hands, children running with carefree laughter. But inside, she was frozen in time, waiting. For him. She glanced at the clock, 7:48 p.m. He was late. Not just today. Not just for this. He had been late for them for years. She pulled her phone from her coat pocket, the screen lighting up in the dim cafe. No missed calls. No messages. Nothing. Her chest tightened as she scrolled through old texts, landing on the one they had sent to each other 10 years ago. If we're still single at 30, let's marry each other.
Deal.
No backing out. She had laughed when they made that promise. She had rolled her eyes and called him ridiculous. But deep down, she had always believed, hoped, that it was real. She hadn't dated seriously all these years. Maybe because no one ever measured up to him. Maybe because some foolish part of her had been waiting for this moment. For him to walk through that door with that lopsided grin, sit across from her and say, "Did you really think I'd forget?" But the door didn't open. And then her phone vibrated. Her heart leapt, fingers trembling as she unlocked the screen. A message from their mutual friend popped up. "Did you see the news? He's engaged. Just announced it." Her breath caught. Engaged? The word sent a cold wave crashing through her. She reread the message, hoping she had misunderstood.
No.
It was right there.
Clear.
Unforgiving. The man she had been waiting for had already chosen someone else. Her fingers hovered over his contact. Should she call? Should she ask why?
No.
Her pride burned at the thought. He hadn't even told her himself. He hadn't even thought about her. The door finally opened, and for a fleeting second, hope sparked inside her. But it wasn't him. Just another stranger stepping into the cafe, brushing the rain off their coat, living a life that wasn't falling apart. She let out a shaky breath, forcing herself to smile at the waiter who came to check on her. "Are you still waiting for someone?" he asked. She stared at the empty seat across from her, the seat that was meant for him. "No," she whispered, pushing her cup away. "I think I've waited long enough." And with that, she got up and walked away. Not knowing that miles away, he was staring at his phone, her name flashing on his screen, his thumb hovering over the call button. But he was already too late. The wedding invitation arrived 3 weeks later. She hadn't expected it. She had spent the last few weeks convincing herself that she was fine, that she was over it, that their promise had been nothing more than a silly, drunken fantasy between two old friends. But then the invitation arrived, sealed in a crisp white envelope with his name, and hers, printed in elegant gold lettering. The moment she saw it, her heart lurched. She should have tossed it into the trash. But instead, she stood there, staring at his name next to hers. Jared and Natalie. The name of the woman who had taken the place that was supposed to be hers. "Are you going to go?" her best friend, Maya, asked over coffee later that evening. She hadn't mentioned it to anyone before now, hadn't wanted to say the words out loud. But Maya had seen the envelope on her kitchen counter and put the pieces together. "I don't know," she admitted, stirring her coffee mindlessly. "What is there to think about? It's your best friend's wedding." Best friend. The words felt foreign now. Jared had been her best friend once. But what kind of friend forgets a promise like the one they made? What kind of friend moves on without even looking back? "If I go, it'll be weird," she muttered. "And if I don't, he'll think I care too much." Maya scoffed. "You do care."
She didn't argue.
What was the point? "Look," Maya said, leaning forward. "If you want my advice, go. Show up, look absolutely stunning, and prove to him that his biggest mistake was not keeping that promise." She exhaled slowly, her fingers tightening around her coffee cup. It wasn't about proving anything to Jared. It was about proving something to herself. The wedding was grand. Elegant chandeliers, white roses lining the aisle, soft violin music floating through the air. And there he was, Jared, standing at the altar, looking devastatingly handsome in a fitted black suit. Her breath caught.
He hadn't changed. He was still him.
The boy who used to tease her about her coffee addiction, who could tell when she was upset just by the way she sighed. The boy who once promised, if we're both single at 30, we'll get married. She had believed him. And yet here they were. She shouldn't have come. She turned to leave, but then their eyes met. And everything froze. His smile faltered. His eyes darkened. For a split second, the world blurred around them. Then his best man, Ethan, clapped him on the shoulder, pulling him back into the moment. And just like that, the moment was gone. But she had seen it. The regret. The hesitation. He wasn't sure. Her heart pounded as she forced herself to look away. It didn't matter anymore. Because today wasn't about them. Today, he was marrying someone else. And no amount of regret in his eyes could change that. The reception was a whirlwind of laughter, music, and clinking glasses. A celebration of love. A love that wasn't hers. She stayed near the back of the ballroom, sipping champagne she could barely taste, watching from a distance as Jared played the role of the perfect groom. He smiled at Natalie, twirling her around the dance floor with practiced ease. He laughed at speeches, toasted to their future, and wore the expression of a man completely at peace. If she didn't know him so well, she might have believed it. But she did. She saw the way his jaw tensed when his eyes flickered to hers. She noticed how he downed his drink too quickly after their silent stare across the room. And she felt, deep in her bones, that he was pretending. Pretending this was the life he wanted. Pretending she wasn't there. Maya nudged her. He keeps looking at you.
She scoffed.
He's a married man now. Yeah, but you and I both know that doesn't mean his heart is. She swallowed hard, refusing to let herself believe it. Refusing to let herself hope. Because hoping would destroy her. An hour later, when most of the guests were tipsy and lost in their own world, she stepped outside onto the balcony, seeking fresh air. The city lights stretched before her, twinkling like distant stars. The night was cool, the breeze carrying the faint hum of music from inside. Then she heard it, the soft click of a door shutting. A presence behind her. She didn't turn. She didn't have to. It was him. Jared stepped up beside her, leaning against the railing. They stood in silence for what felt like eternity, the weight of 1,000 unsaid words hanging between them. Then his voice, low, hesitant. You came. She let out a quiet laugh, shaking her head. Did you think I wouldn't? I wasn't sure, he admitted. After everything. Everything. One word to sum up years of friendship, an unspoken love, a broken promise. She turned to face him then, really looking at him. He looked the same, yet different. Older. Tired. There was something in his eyes, something haunted. You didn't even tell me you were engaged, she said softly. His throat bobbed. You knew about the promise. Her voice wavered. I waited, Jared. His eyes slammed shut for a moment, like her words physically pained him. I know, he murmured. She let out a shaky breath. So, tell me.
Why?
Why did he forget? Why did he choose her? Why did he let go of what they could have been? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. A folded piece of paper. He hesitated, then placed it in her hand. Read it when you're alone, he said, voice hoarse. Her fingers curled around it, heart hammering. Jared. But he was already stepping back, already walking away. She watched him go, disappearing into the crowd, back to his wife, while she was left standing there, holding a secret in her hand. She didn't open the letter right away. For hours, it burned in her pocket, a silent weight pressing against her. She moved through the rest of the evening in a daze, smiling when expected, nodding at small talk, clapping at toasts, all while her fingers curled around the delicate folds of the paper. She told herself it didn't matter, that whatever was written inside wouldn't change anything. Jared was married now. He had made his choice. And yet, As she lay awake in her hotel room later that night, staring at the ceiling, her hands moved on their own. Her fingers unfolded the paper. Her heart stopped. I never forgot. Not for a second. Do you remember that night? You were tipsy, laughing, swearing you'd never settle for a love that was less than everything. And I promised, if we were both single at 30, I'd marry you. I meant it. But things don't always go the way we plan, do they? Life has a way of forcing choices on us. Ones we can't escape. By the time I realized what you meant to me, it was too late. You were happy. You were living.
And
I was trapped. I needed to let go of you before I ruined you. But I want you to know, I never forgot. And if things had been different, it would have always been you. She sucked in a breath, her fingers tightening around the paper. What did he mean? Trapped? Forced choices? This wasn't an explanation. It was a confession wrapped in regret, leaving her with more questions than answers. She should have felt validated. He hadn't forgotten. She wasn't crazy. But instead, she felt something much worse. Helpless. Because no matter how much Jared regretted it, he still chose someone else. And there was nothing she could do to change that. The next morning, she did the only thing she could think of. She left. No goodbyes. No confrontations. Just an early flight and a desperate attempt to outrun the ache in her chest. But deep down, she knew the truth. No matter how far she ran, some loves never let you go. The city blurred beneath her as the plane took off, leaving behind a wedding, a man she once thought would be hers, and a letter that had changed everything. She clenched her fists, trying to will away the ache in her chest. It shouldn't hurt this much. It was supposed to be simple. Jared made his choice. He had a wife, a life, a future that didn't include her. And yet, the words from his letter wouldn't leave her mind. If things had been different, it would have always been you. What did he mean? Why say those things now? Why give her hope when there was no future left for them? She shut her eyes. It didn't matter. She needed to forget him. 2 weeks passed. She threw herself into work, ignoring the way her phone buzzed with messages she refused to answer. Friends asking if she was okay. Maya checking in. Jared's name never appeared on the screen, but she told herself that was for the best. Until one night, he called. She stared at the screen. Her heart pounded. For a moment, she debated letting it ring. Letting him go. But something inside her, a force stronger than logic, stronger than pain, made her answer. Hello. Silence. A shaky exhale. Then, you left. Her throat tightened. What did you expect me to do? Stay and watch you play the perfect husband?
he sighed.
I never wanted you to see any of it. She clenched her jaw. Then why invite me? Another pause. Then so softly it almost broke her. Because I needed you there. Her chest ached. You don't get to say that. He let out a bitter laugh. I know. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence stretched, filled with all the unspoken things they could never say. Then, finally, meet me. Her heart stopped. What? Please, he murmured. There's something you don't know. Her fingers tightened around the phone. Jared, you're married. I know. His voice was raw. But I need you to hear me out. She shouldn't. She really, really shouldn't. But she found herself whispering. Where? She shouldn't have come. She knew it the second she stepped into the dimly lit cafe, her heart hammering as she spotted him at a secluded corner table. Jared looked different. Not like a man who had just gotten married. Not like someone basking in the glow of newlywed bliss. He looked haunted. His sleeves were rolled up, his hands clasped together, his head slightly bowed, like a man carrying a weight too heavy to bear. And the moment he saw her, his whole body tensed. She took a slow breath, steadying herself. I shouldn't be here, she said quietly. I know, he admitted. But I'm glad you came. She slid into the chair across from him, forcing herself to stay calm. Say whatever it is you needed to say. Because after tonight, Jared, I'm done. Pain flickered in his eyes, but he nodded. Then, after a long pause, I didn't marry her by choice. Her stomach dropped. A bitter laugh escaped her lips. Oh, please. Don't do this. Don't make it seem like you had no control. I didn't. His voice was rough, desperate. You think I wanted this? You think I didn't? He cut himself off, running a hand through his hair. God, I wanted to choose you. She froze. A sharp, painful silence filled the space between them. Then, barely above a whisper, she asked, Then why didn't you? Jared swallowed hard. He looked away, jaw clenching,
Like he didn't want to say it.
But then, my family. Her brows furrowed. What? He exhaled shakily. My father, he made a deal. A business merger, tied to my marriage. If I didn't marry Natalie, everything my family built, everything my parents worked for, would crumble. His hands curled into fists. I was given a choice, save my family or walk away. Her breath caught.
No.
No, this couldn't be real. You're telling me you married her because of a deal? His silence was answer enough. A sharp pain pierced through her chest. And you didn't tell me? I wanted to, he said, voice raw. God, I wanted to. But what would that have done? I couldn't change anything. I couldn't break free. And if I told you, you would have waited. You would have held on.
And I couldn't do that to you.
She felt sick. All these years, she thought he had let go because he didn't love her. Because he had chosen someone else. But he had been trapped. Forced. She gripped the edge of the table, trying to steady her breath. So why tell me now? Jared swallowed, his gaze burning into hers. Because the moment I saw you at the wedding, I knew something. She clenched her jaw. What? His voice was barely above a whisper. I made the wrong choice. A sharp, aching silence filled the air. Tears burned at the back of her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. That doesn't change anything, Jared. I know. His lips pressed into a thin line. But tell me, if I ever get the chance to make things right, would you still be there? Her heart stopped. Because for the first time in years, she didn't know the answer. The silence between them stretched, thick and suffocating. She should have gotten up and walked away. She should have. But instead, she sat there, gripping the edge of the table as Jared's question echoed in her mind. If I ever get the chance to make things right, would you still be there? Her breath came unevenly. You can't ask me that. His hands curled into fists. I know. Then why did you? She snapped, her voice breaking. Why tell me all of this now, Jared? Why wait until after you're married? Do you have any idea what you've done? He swallowed hard. I didn't want to burden you with this before. But after seeing you at the wedding, knowing what I'd done, his voice dropped. I couldn't let you leave thinking I never cared. Something inside her fractured. She had spent years believing she wasn't enough. That he had outgrown their promise. That she had been a fool for holding on when he never did. And now, he was telling her that he had wanted her all along. That he had only let her go because he thought he had no choice. Her chest ached. Do you love her? Jared flinched. She let out a hollow laugh. That bad, huh? He hesitated, rubbing a hand down his face. I don't know how to answer that. She inhaled sharply. Then let me make it easier for you. Do you love me? His breath hitched. And then, so softly, so painfully, yes. Her heart stopped. But he wasn't done. I love you, he said, his voice raw. I have always loved you. And I will love you until the day I die. A tear slipped down her cheek. Then why did you let me go? He exhaled shakily. Because I thought I was doing the right thing. She shook her head. No, Jared. The right thing would have been fighting for me. His jaw clenched, pain flickering in his eyes. I know. Silence. She wiped at her cheek, forcing herself to breathe. It doesn't matter now. You're married. His expression twisted. I never wanted to be. But you are. Her voice was firm, even though it felt like her heart was shattering. And I refuse to be the woman who waits for a man who belongs to someone else. Jared's eyes darkened. I don't belong to her. Legally, you do. He leaned forward, his voice barely above a whisper. Then tell me you don't love me. She froze. His gaze was burning, desperate. Tell me you've moved on. That you don't want me anymore. That if I ever find a way out of this, you wouldn't be there waiting. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. Because she couldn't lie. She had tried to move on. God, she had tried. But her heart had always belonged to him. And he knew it. The weight of the truth settled between them, too heavy to ignore. Jared let out a shaky breath. Then it's not over. A chill ran down her spine. Don't say that. I mean it. His voice was steady now, certain. I may have lost the battle, but I won't lose the war. Her pulse raced. Jared, you can't just. I will fix this. His fingers tightened into fists. I don't care what it takes. I will get out of this marriage. And when I do, his gaze locked onto hers. I'm coming for you. Her breath caught. She should have stopped him. Told him to let go. But instead, her heart whispered something terrifying. She wanted him to fight for her. She didn't sleep that night. Jared's words haunted her, playing over and over in her mind. I will fix this. I don't care what it takes. I'm coming for you. Her heart should have rejected it. She should have been furious, told him to let go, to honor his vows. But instead, her heart ached for something impossible. She sat in her dark apartment, staring at the city skyline, her fingers tightening around the coffee mug in her hands. He was married. He had stood at the altar and made a promise to another woman. And yet, he had just promised her that it wasn't over. How could she believe in a love that had already been sealed with someone else's name? A sharp knock on the door shattered her thoughts. She tensed. Who would come at this hour? Slowly, she got up and made her way to the door. And when she opened it, her breath caught. Natalie stood there. Jared's wife. Her stomach dropped. Natalie. The other woman's gaze was unreadable, her hands elegantly clasped in front of her. Dressed in a silk dress, makeup still perfect despite the late hour, she looked every bit the part of a wealthy, polished wife. A wife who knew exactly why she was here. May I come in? Natalie asked, voice smooth. Every instinct told her to say no, to slam the door shut and walk away. But she couldn't. Not when Jared's wife was standing at her doorstep, unannounced, in the middle of the night. So, against her better judgment, she stepped aside. Natalie walked in, eyes flickering over the apartment. It's nice. A little small but cozy. She crossed her arms. Why are you here? Natalie turned to face her. And then she smiled. It sent a shiver down her spine. I had a feeling my husband was with you tonight. Her breath hitched. For a split second, guilt clawed at her. But she hadn't done anything wrong. Had she? He came to talk, she said carefully. Natalie hummed, stepping closer. Do you still love him? Her pulse raced.
What kind of question was that?
She should have lied. She should have said no, should have told this woman to go home, to stop looking at her like she was the enemy. But instead, she made the biggest mistake of all. She hesitated. And Natalie saw everything. A slow, knowing smile curved her lips. I see. Her hands clenched into fists. What do you want, Natalie? Jared's wife tilted her head. To make something very clear. She stepped even closer, until only inches separated them. I don't care who he loved before me, Natalie said softly, voice like velvet. I don't care if his heart still beats for you. She reached out, brushing an invisible speck off her shoulder. Because at the end of the day, he's mine. A sharp, cold weight settled in her chest. You may have his love, Natalie whispered, but I have his name, his vows, and his future. She smiled sweetly. And I don't intend to give them up. The room suddenly felt too small, too suffocating. And as Natalie turned, walking gracefully to the door, she threw one last glance over her shoulder. Let him go, she said, before he destroys you both. Then she was gone, leaving her standing in the dark, her heart shattering. She didn't move for a long time. The echo of Natalie's voice lingered in the apartment, wrapping around her like an invisible chain. Let him go, before he destroys you both. It wasn't a threat. It was a warning. And the worst part? Natalie wasn't wrong. She sank onto the couch, her breath uneven. Jared had made a promise to fix things, to fight for her. But was there even anything left to fight for? Could love ever justify breaking a vow? She didn't have an answer. The next morning, her phone buzzed. She hesitated before picking it up.
Jared.
A part of her wanted to ignore him, to turn away before she got pulled in deeper. But she didn't. Hello. I need to see you, he said, voice tense. Her stomach twisted. Jared.
Please.
She closed her eyes. Where? They met at a quiet cafe, far from familiar eyes. Jared was already there when she arrived, his fingers curled around a coffee cup, his expression taut. The moment she sat down, he spoke. She came to see you. It wasn't a question. Her throat tightened. Yes. Jared exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. I'm sorry. She shook her head. She was right, Jared. His jaw clenched.
No.
She wasn't. Her eyes flashed. She's your wife. His hands slammed against the table. She never should have been. Her breath caught. I made a mistake, he said hoarsely. And now I'm paying for it every single day. But I refuse to let that mistake dictate the rest of my life. Her fingers trembled. It's not that simple. It is, Jared insisted. I don't love her. I never did. She looked away. That doesn't change the fact that you married her. He exhaled, his voice lowering. I'm filing for a divorce. Her heart stopped. What? I was going to do it anyway, he admitted. Even before you walked back into my life. I thought I could make this work, that I could force myself to stay. But I can't. She swallowed hard. Jared. I don't expect you to wait for me, he interrupted. But I need you to know, when this is over, I will find you. And if there's even a sliver of hope left, I'll fight for it. Her chest ached, because she wanted to believe him. But love wasn't just about feelings. It was about choices, promises. And Jared had already broken one. How could she trust he wouldn't break another? She stood, her voice barely above a whisper. Come find me when you're free, Jared. Then she walked away. And this time, she didn't look back. The days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. And still, she heard nothing. She told herself not to wait. That she had done the right thing by walking away. Jared needed to fight his own battles. If he truly meant what he said, he would come for her. But as time passed, doubt crept in. Had she been a fool to believe him? Had Natalie won? Had Jared realized that leaving his wife was harder than he thought? She forced herself to move forward. She took on more work, reconnected with old friends, even went on a few dates. But every time she smiled at someone else, every time she tried to let someone in, her heart betrayed her. It wasn't ready to forget. Not yet. And maybe not ever. One evening, as she walked home from work, her phone rang. Jared. Her breath caught. It had been 8 months since she last saw him. She hesitated before answering. Hello? A deep breath on the other end. Then, I'm free. Her fingers tightened around the phone. What? She whispered. I signed the papers, Jared said. It's done. Her heart pounded. You actually did it? Yes. She sucked in a breath. Why did it take so long? Silence. Then his voice, raw and unguarded. Because I wanted to do it right. She closed her eyes. I didn't want you to be a reason for my divorce, he admitted. I needed to walk away from Natalie because my marriage was already broken. Not because I had someone else waiting. Tears burned behind her eyes. I didn't reach out because I wanted to make sure I wasn't just running to you as an escape, Jared continued. I needed to know that when I came back it was because I chose you, not just because I left her. A tear slipped down her cheek. And now, she whispered. A long pause. Now I'm standing outside your door. Her breath hitched. She spun around. And there he was. Jared stood at the bottom of her apartment steps, his eyes locked onto hers, filled with everything she had been waiting for. Slowly, he climbed the steps, stopping just inches away. I told you, he murmured. I'd find you. She stared at him, the weight of everything crashing down. You took so long, she choked out. His lips curved into a sad smile. Would you have believed me if I hadn't? Her throat tightened.
No.
If he had come to her too soon, she would have wondered if it was just desperation. But he had waited, fought his battles alone, and now he was truly free. She lifted a trembling hand to his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. And in that moment she knew, this wasn't rushed. This wasn't reckless. This was real. Jared cupped her face gently, his voice barely a whisper. Tell me I'm not too late. Tears streamed down her cheeks. And then, for the first time in years, she smiled. You're right on time. His lips crashed onto hers, sealing a love that had been waiting far too long. And this time there was nothing standing in their way.